Earlier this year, the permanent makeup industry collectively gasped as pictures flooded online forums of the worst eyeliner procedure, complete with bruising and serious migration any of us had ever seen. The client was in a real mess, and as much as bad reactions can happen to all of us, this was like nothing else. So what is eyeliner migration and how does it happen? And what can you do as an artist to make sure this never happens to you? Well, that's what we're going to look at today in this video. And if you watch right to the end, I'm going to tell you my 5 top tips to prevent this. So loads of you ask me about eyeliner, and for good reason. It is the most temperamental PMU treatment and the results can be unpredictable. But get this wrong and you can really mess up your client's face. And eyeliner is the hardest to remove. So what is eyeliner migration? Well, if you Google pictures of it, you'll be faced with all the shocking photos of people who look like they're crying ink. The pigment has quite literally travelled from where it was implanted to somewhere else it's not supposed to be. This is really unsightly. But also, migration can happen on a smaller scale when you get eyeliner results that just don't look crisp anymore. The edges have all softened and it looks a bit more smudgy. If you look close, you may be able to see small particles that have left the shape where you implanted it. Well, what's to blame for that? Let's look at the chief suspect, carbon. Carbon is a pigment used in lots of permanent makeup and tattoo pigment. It's really good at getting dark black colours. And permanent makeup artists love it for eyeliner because the particles are so small, it just flies into the skin quickly. It's a really common ingredient in eyeliner pigment too. So why does carbon cause us so much problem with migration? Carbon has long been used as an ingredient in tattoo pigment. And if you think of what old black tattoos look like, they are smudgy, they're hard to see the detail of, they've moved. So the benefits of carbon pigment going into the skin easily because of the small particles are what give us the problem. Those small particles can move. But so much eyeliner pigment has carbon in it. So how do you know if you should use it? So before every eyeliner procedure, we should be looking at our client's eyelids and inspecting them. So this person has really lovely normal skin with no visible veins in the eyelid. The reason why we're looking for that is those blood vessels are what the carbon can travel up. Someone with really vascular eyelids poses a huge risk for migration. So look at this second client, you can see that her eyelids are so vascular. And some high-risk clients don't have veins going all the way up the eyelid like this, but are really prominent within the lash line. So you need to be looking at the whole eyelid, including the lash line as well. Someone with eyelids as veiny as these, I would turn away. This is a client of mine who had quite vascular eyelids, and as you can see, I still managed to get the eyeliner in there, but I did change things. I absolutely would not use a carbon-based pigment on this client. So what are the other options? So we need to look at other pigment options. So this is Onyx by LI Pigments. Onyx is an iron oxide based eyeliner pigment. And this one here is Midnight Black, also by LI Pigments. And this is a carbon based pigment. So as Onyx is made from iron oxide, the particles in that are larger. This means they are more stable in the skin and so less prone to migrating. The downside of that, however, is because the particles are larger, it does take longer to get into the skin. As well as using Onyx Neat, you can also mix Midnight Black and Onyx together to make your blend more stable and also having that power of the carbon in there as well. You should only be mixing within the range though, because these will have been tested together and proven to be safe when mixed. Both of these pigments have both their positives and their drawbacks as well, and your training should cover inorganic and organic pigments as well. It's really important that you have in-depth pigment knowledge so that you know what you're tattooing into your clients. That way you can predict how your results are going to behave. This all comes as standard in my training. I'm based in the UK, but you can train anywhere in the world with me, as I offer both in-person and online training. Click the links below to train with me, and I also have several courses available, including some freebies, so check out the description. So what can we do to get rid of migrated eyeliner? The only way to deal with migrated eyeliner is removal, and this takes great skill and practice and is not for a beginner. You can use chemical remover, particularly on wings. You can use saline, as is being used in this eyebrow removal here. But as you get to the lash line, this gets more and more difficult. One of the best options for removal of eyeliner is laser, but again, this has to be done by someone who is incredibly skilled and experienced. This has to be done by a special laser that is designed specifically for this area, and also protective eye shields need to be worn in the eye so that the laser can't damage it. It's far better just to prevent migration from happening in the first place than having to go through painful sessions of removal. So here are my top tips to prevent migrated eyeliner ever happening in the first place. Number 1, stick to an iron oxide or hybrid pigment. You can actually often see migration happening quickly, so you can always do one pass with onyx, and then if the skin is stable, you can go onto a mix or a carbon pigment. Always treat people with vascular eyelids as a high migration risk, and either stick to oxides or just don't treat them. I do love a long tapered needle to control the pigment flow, but as the taper is longer, you have more risk of blowing out, piercing that dermis and depositing pigment where you really don't want it. I'm really experienced. If you're not, then stick to a medium or short tapered needle. Most importantly, you need to stay away from the danger areas at the corner of the eyes. From the inside of the eye, you need to leave at least 5 millimeters, and the outside at least 2. But the best bet is to stick to where your client has lashes and never move out of that. Also, never tattoo on the corners or the waterline. Be a stickler with your pre-care instructions. Things that thin the skin, such as retinol and lash serums, are going to make your client's skin break down. Make sure that you insist on them being off these way before you treat them. A client of mine was instructed to have her lashes off at least 2 weeks before and did it a week before. The harsh chemicals meant that her skin broke down and bruised really easily, and her treatment had to be stopped. Also, use bigger needles. I like a 5RS when I can, and I know many people who'll use an 8 for a liner. The bigger it is, the less likely to cause bruising and trauma, which can all encourage migration. If you see pigment travelling up a blood vessel, stop the treatment and put pressure on the area. Not too much, it is an eye after all, but doing that for a few minutes can prevent it from travelling any further. Then stop the treatment. None of this is worth migrated eyeliner. Now, I know this is a little scary, but these are all safety measures to make sure this doesn't happen to you. Now, if you don't know the difference still between carbon and iron oxide pigments, or you need a bit of a refresher, then you need this video. I hope you found all this informative. Please let me know in the comments. As always, I love to see your comments and love to see you subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.